Hello, it's Ed. Welcome to the brand new studio. We literally just moved in and I'm trying to unpack, so not quite there yet, but we're getting there, and I have high hopes that it's going to be a lot more cozy in here. I'm going to be able to do a lot more stuff from inside the studio. But I want to make the most of the autumn before it all gets horrible out there. So I've dug out my Yashica Electro 35, which you'll remember from early episodes, hopefully, of Inside the Studio, and it's loaded with Ektar 100. And what I'm going to do is go out and shoot some buildings that I really love around here, which might not be here for much longer. And I'm also going to do this as a bit of a camera test. So I'm going to be taking this, but I'm also going to be taking the Lumix Digital G100, which I'm filming myself on now. And I'm going to have on that this 20mm 1.7 lens, which is the equivalent of a 40mm on a full frame camera. This is a 40mm 1.7 lens on the Yashica. So it will be a straight comparison. Let's crack on, let's get outside before the weather changes and get some shots in. And then we'll come back to the studio and I'll show you how I scan and get everything ready. So we're at the first location, which is the gasometer, just over there, which I think they are about to demolish. But we shall get a picture for posterity, first of all, with this camera. Okay, so that's a look at some of the locations that I shot. I did do a few others. Since then, I've had the photographs developed, so they're over in an envelope on my desk, waiting to be cut up and scanned. So let's go over and do that now. Here are the negatives. The first thing we need to do is cut them up, because this is just really difficult to manage when it's so big. So let's get some scissors. I would normally wear gloves for this, but since we've just moved, I do not have any, and I need to get this done. So we'll put the negatives in a sleeve to start with, just to protect them when they're cut up, and then we'll take them out one by one and scan them. So negatives all cut up and filed, ready to be scanned. I now need to turn on my light box and get my camera set up. Now what I normally do is, for medium format, I use this 13mm extension tube, and for 35mm I use this 21, because it allows me to get in a bit closer, and it's all on a 50mm lens. There we go. Pop the camera in there, make sure it is absolutely vertical, and pop on my remote. Now, just to check my settings, f8, an eighth of a second on ISO 400. Got the light box on full brightness, and I have my little negative holding down device that I 3D printed. So let's crack on and do the first strip. Okay, so I've just checked the first one, that's looking good. We can carry on with the rest. Okay, so if we come over to the laptop here, you can see I've loaded up the scans that we've done, and I can scroll through these now and look for the first one that we want to process. Now, the first thing I do is go and change the white balance so that the edge of the frame is neutral. Then I reduce the contrast down and increase the texture a little bit, and that gives the most possible out of the scan. Then if we open that in Photoshop, we can then go up to rotation, make sure the image is the right way around so we can see what we're doing, and then I use the crop tool here to drag in, just leaving the slight edge of the negative, because I'll be using that to do some more colour balancing and level adjustment. But if we just get that pretty much straight, there we go, and then magnify it to fit the screen, we can see in detail, you get that sharp, we're happy with that. And then move down to invert, that's the key thing, obviously, to turn a positive out of the negative, but it looks very faded, so we're going to change the levels. So with the black eyedropper tool, we'll select the edge again and that gives it the right contrast, but it's blue. So we select a grey area, then dragging the sliders here, we can get it to pretty much a neutral vanilla starting point. Then we can just do a final cropping around there, make sure it's straight, and then I'll prepare it for the slideshow by using an action which I have up here. The action is called still for video, and that will just basically make it the right size to fit on the video frame. So that will be appearing in the slideshow shortly. So that's how I process my negatives. Obviously I use Photoshop, but I don't use any of the specialist tools for film scanning, and I don't use a dedicated film scanner you saw. I just use a DSLR with an extension tube on it, and the extension tube, dependent on the format that I'm using, whether it's medium format or 35mm. So should we have a look at a slideshow? I think that would be fun. Okay, so what did you think of that then? Basically, I would say you can make a digital photograph look like a film photograph, but you can't make a film photograph look like a digital photograph. Some of those I really preferred the film one, even though they were softer and the colours were not quite right. But in terms of flexibility, the digital one, I know that if I did some work with the files, I could make them look like the film files, and there was a huge amount of work involved in processing, scanning, etc. the film. Obviously I could get a lab to do that for me, and I can use actions to speed up the process somewhat, but it's a lot more work than digital. But that said, I do enjoy the process of film. I love it. It's such a difficult one to get your head around, isn't it? Anyway, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Please do pop them in the comments if you have the time. It would really be nice to hear from you, hear what you think, and what you think of my processes. I mean, I know there are lots of other ways of doing this, probably better ways of scanning and processing the film than I use, but that's just what works for me. It'd be great to know what works for you and what you think. As always, please do like, subscribe, recommend to friends. I was looking and I'm on 98 subscribers, I think, the last time I looked, so it'd be really great to get up to 100. I know that doesn't sound like much in the grand scheme of things, but for me it would be amazing. Right, that's it for this week. I'll be back next week. I'm probably going to be talking about a project that I'm working on, and hopefully the studio will be in a little bit better nick, and I'll have sorted all the lighting out, so it won't be as grainy as some of this I'm sure was. Have a fantastic week. Bye for now.